Reflecting on my entire life's journey, I've noticed a common thread that links those who thrive with those who spend a lifetime feeling an invisible force holds them back. And it's precisely this realization that leads me to begin this discussion on a different note. For there's something hidden, truth that the vast majority of people never grasp, and until they recognize it, they continue to spin their wheels, chasing outcomes that always seem to elude them. Have you ever noticed how, at times, you feel you're just one step away from a breakthrough, but some force seems to pull you back? As if a door is about to open, and at the very last moment, it slams shut without explanation. The truth is, the principle of attraction never fails. What proves ineffective is how individuals engage with it. And this phenomenon occurs because this precept is universal. It operates constantly, for everyone, without exception, regardless of their belief. And perhaps this is precisely why so many don't see results. They are attracting, but not what they truly desire. They are attracting what they fear, what they believe about themselves when they are alone, what they silently repeat while trying to convince the world that everything is fine. I observe thousands of individuals replicating emotional patterns that inhibit them from thriving. Fear of losing money. Fear of not being capable. Apprehension about making a decision and regretting it. Terror of standing out and becoming a target for criticism. And even when they claim to desire prosperity, they carry internal convictions deeply rooted since childhood, like a silent program guiding their every step. Have you noticed this in yourself? That inner voice suggesting that perhaps it's not the right time, that perhaps you don't possess what's needed, that perhaps it's better to wait. Meanwhile, the years pass by. And allow me to reveal something, I experienced this personally. I didn't study, lacked prospects, worked random jobs, without direction. One day, while at the Toronto Fire Department, sitting in silence, observing the monotonous routine and the feeling that my life was never going anywhere, a thought hit me like a sharp incision. Is this all there is? Was I born simply to exist and build nothing? That tore me apart inside because, until that moment, I genuinely believed I wasn't capable of anything extraordinary. My self-image was fragmented, and I didn't even realize how much it controlled everything. It wasn't a lack of determination, it was a profound lack of self-clarity. And it's precisely at this point that many become paralyzed. They believe they are not seeing results because the principle of attraction doesn't work, but, in reality, it's because they are unknowingly using the law against themselves. The subconscious mind accepts everything you emotionally reiterate, and that's what generates your vibration. And your vibration gives rise to your results. Have you ever noticed how, when you're apprehensive about your bills, it seems even more expenses pop up? Or when you fear losing someone, a simple disagreement seems to balloon into something huge. Or when you feel you'll never have enough, everything around you starts to confirm that feeling. None of this is mere coincidence. It is the law in action. I remember a specific phase, before any transformation took place, when I would tell myself, I have no education, I have no degree, I possess no special talent, so of course, I cannot go very far. That thought seemed so innocent, yet it shaped my reality. And that's why you don't see results. What you long for is in direct conflict with what you believe about yourself. You think of wealth, but you feel fear. You think of success, but you feel insecurity. You think of abundance, but you vibrate scarcity. And the law responds to what you vibrate, not to what you desire. And here's something crucial, something no one has ever told you. The vast majority of individuals live as if held hostage by their own emotions. Research indicates that more than 80% of people get caught in emotional cycles tied to financial fear, anxiety about the future, and feelings of inadequacy. And this doesn't just affect their decisions, it affects their vibration, their energy, their aptitude for attracting new opportunities. Thoughts are not mere thoughts, they are electronic impulses, communicating to the universe exactly what you are prepared to receive. And before we proceed, I want you to understand a powerful truth: if the law is universal, it responds in the same way to both those who prosper and those who don't. The distinction lies in internal alignment. Because, deep down, you never attract what you want, you attract who you are, what you believe is viable for yourself. And I learned this the hard way, watching my own life crumble as I tried to find external justifications for my failures. And it was only when I realized that change began internally, and never externally, that my reality finally started to respond differently. That's what I want you to grasp right now. When I look back and recall the first time I realized that the principle of attraction didn't depend on my external circumstances, but rather on my internal state, something within me changed forever. And that's exactly what I want to delve into now, because assimilating this invisible mechanism is the turning point that separates those who transform their lives from those who spend years trying, aiming, dreaming, but never breaking the pattern. Most people believe they don't see results because they are doing something wrong externally. They think they need to work more hours, take on a second job, pile on responsibilities, to prove themselves to the world. But all of that is just a consequence. The genuine cause resides in what you accept as truth about yourself. Have you ever noticed that you might desire something with great intensity, and yet deep down feel that maybe it's not for you? How many times have you observed someone successful and thought, "I'd like that, but I don't know if I could achieve it"? Have you realized how this simple uncertainty changes everything? This doubt generates a vibration. And that vibration communicates to the universe that it doesn't yet belong to you. People claim they want to prosper, but they live feeling guilty when they talk about money. They want more, but at the same time, they are afraid of appearing selfish. They want to ascend, but they fear the judgment of others. And so they enter into internal conflict, and internal conflict generates confused external outcomes. I observe this constantly: individuals who work extremely hard but live emotionally exhausted, people who plan, but never execute, individuals who aspire, but never receive. And do you know why? Because they are trying to erect an imposing building on the fragile foundation of a limited self-image. And self-image always prevails. Always. You will never surpass the representation you carry of yourself. And perhaps you're asking yourself, but why is it so challenging to overcome this? Because you've been conditioned. From an early age. And this conditioning shapes your current reactions. Studies demonstrate that more than 70% of people's financial decisions are driven by fear, not by intention. And try to imagine the impact of that. If fear dominates decisions, fear dominates vibration. If fear dominates vibration, it dominates what you attract. It's simple, and devastating. And here's a truth few admit: most people's financial suffering comes from trying to avoid their fear, instead of creating a powerful vision to overcome it. It's like trying to stop a flood with your bare hands. The mind doesn't work by removing thoughts, it operates by replacing vibrations. The more you try to combat fear, the more you strengthen it. But when you focus on the image of what you long for with intense emotion, fear loses its grip. And allow me to share something. When I first encountered the book that completely transformed my way of thinking, I had no idea what was about to happen. I would sit in the small, simple room where I lived and read those pages as if I were breathing air for the first time in my life. And, for the first time, I envisioned a version of myself that I had never allowed to exist. It wasn't blind belief. It was an unprecedented feeling, as if I had found a map and realized that the treasure had always been nearby, but I had never dug in the right spot. That deeply impacted me. And that's when everything else began to shift. And before we continue, I need to make an important request. If what you've heard so far has resonated, if any part of it touched you or made you reflect, please click like and subscribe to the channel. It may seem simple, but this action is what keeps this content alive. It's what allows more individuals to find this message and also awaken. This doesn't just benefit the channel, it helps keep this knowledge accessible and strengthens the community that is building a new reality. Now, returning. I want you to understand something profound: thoughts don't generate results merely because you desire them. They create results when they alter your vibration. You can mentally express the desire for prosperity, but if fear emotionally prevails, the dominant vibration is fear. It's like trying to tune into a radio station while your antenna stubbornly points to another frequency. No matter how much you adjust the dial, if the receiver is misaligned, the sound will never be clear. This applies to real-life scenarios that everyone faces. Have you ever noticed that, when you start the month apprehensive about bills, everything seems to go wrong? The refrigerator breaks down, a car tire goes flat, a forgotten bill resurfaces. That's not bad luck. It's vibration. By vibrating tension, you attract compatible situations. This holds true for everything: relationships, career, health, ideas, finances. Consider what happens to certain celebrities. There's one excellent example I always bring up because it vividly demonstrates the law of attraction at work in a negative way: Nicolas Cage. He amassed incalculable fortunes, starred in major productions, achieved global recognition, yet his vibration was one of excess, a fear of loss, and financial mismanagement. The outcome: he lost nearly everything, accumulated massive debts, and watched his career decline for years. It wasn't bad luck, it was a vibration out of alignment with prosperity. That's why I propose a simple yet incredibly powerful challenge. For the next 24 hours, eliminate any phrase that expresses lack. Every time you're about to say, "I don't have," "I can't," or "it's difficult," stop. Breathe. And replace it with, "I am creating space for something greater." Do this for just a single day and observe what shifts in your internal state. You'll be astonished. There's a point in the law of attraction journey that almost no one realizes, and it's precisely this point that determines whether someone moves forward or remains stuck in the same reality for years. This is what I want to delve into now, as many imagine that simply wishing hard, repeating affirmations, or visualizing a result is enough to change everything. But there's something far more profound at play, something that governs every thought, every reaction, every silent decision you make without even noticing. The truth is, you don't attract what you consciously think, you attract what you emotionally accept as truth. And most people live trapped in what I call the cycle of internal contradiction. They believe they want a prosperous life, yet they carry emotional memories of scarcity. And these memories constantly manifest in their daily lives. Have you ever noticed this? That moment when you receive some unexpected money, and a few days later, it seems to vanish. Or when you finally start saving a little, and suddenly an expense arises that forces you to use that reserve. People call this bad luck, but it's not bad luck, it's misaligned vibration. When someone vibrates worry, life responds with situations that reinforce that worry. When they vibrate insecurity, they attract events that confirm that insecurity. And when they vibrate scarcity, even what arrives ends up slipping away. This is universal. It doesn't depend on who you are, where you were born, your education level, or your history. The law distinguishes no one. It simply responds. And this entire dynamic is intrinsically connected to an extremely delicate point: your internal emotional programming. It's not enough to desire fulfillment if, deep within your being, you carry guilt for wanting more. It's ineffective to dream big if you harbor the conviction that you are not worthy of such achievements. Similarly, pursuing new opportunities won't bear fruit if, secretly, you fear they might change your life at a pace faster than your ability to adapt and keep up. This is why so many individuals find themselves stuck. It's not the external environment that imposes barriers, but rather they themselves, through their own limiting beliefs and feelings. This becomes evident in mundane, daily ways that often go unnoticed. When you see an item you want to buy and think, "That's excessively expensive," you're not describing its monetary value, but rather your own self-image. When you observe someone else's prosperity and feel discomfort, believing you'll never achieve that, you're not truly seeing the other person, but your own reflected limitations. It's as if the universe constantly holds up a mirror to you. And the image only changes when you transform internally. I learned this in a very powerful way. There was a time when I had started earning significant amounts from my first venture, but I still lived with the fear of losing everything. I earned, but I never relaxed. And the more I feared loss, the more situations arose that depleted my financial resources. Equipment broke down, clients delayed payments, impulsive choices led me to invest in purposeless things. It was as if prosperity was trying to enter, but I kept the door locked from the inside. I only realized this when I understood I had changed my behavior, but not my self-image. I was earning more, but I still felt like the same limited man I was before. Life was merely reflecting that. And it's possible that this same dynamic is manifesting in your life right now. You desire a substantial advancement in your financial situation, yet you continue to react emotionally like someone who constantly fears expenses. You long for stability in your life, but your vibrational energy is one of anxiety. You seek to be valued and recognized, yet you harbor the fear of not being good enough. Consequently, you can't understand why your desired results aren't fully blossoming in your reality. Now, allow me to present a case that perfectly illustrates this mechanism: Jim Carrey. Before he became a celebrity, he lived in profound scarcity. But what set him apart wasn't his talent, but rather how he began to perceive himself. He wrote himself a check for the sum of $10 million, spelled out in full, with a future date. He didn't just visualize, he saw himself as someone capable of receiving such an amount. His self-image transformed before the outcome materialized. And when, eventually, he earned exactly that value, spelled out, for a film, he himself stated that he wasn't surprised. Because, deep down, he was already vibrating at that frequency. This isn't coincidence. This is alignment. Now, let's apply this to your own experience. How many times have you found yourself repeating behaviors you promised to change? How many times have you started an endeavor with fervor and later lost momentum? How many times have you had a promising idea but dismissed it, believing it wasn't the right time? And how many times have you caught yourself living mechanically, reacting to the same stimuli, feeling the same emotions, attracting the same outcomes, as if you were trapped in an endless loop? This happens because your subconscious mind is in charge of your internal operations. And this part of your mind doesn't distinguish between past and present, it merely reproduces what it has been programmed and conditioned to believe as absolute truth. Current scientific studies and research demonstrate that a proportion of 95% of human behavior is automatic, driven primarily by a complex set of deeply ingrained beliefs stored in the subconscious mind. Consequently, if your innermost beliefs are not fully compatible and aligned with the reality you genuinely wish to manifest and experience, you can engage in an infinite number of conscious actions, work diligently, dedicate yourself to prayer, practice creative visualization, or meticulously plan every step. But despite all this conscious effort, nothing truly significant or lasting will change. The reason for this is that it is the unconscious vibration that, in fact, creates your manifest reality, and not mere conscious effort or deliberate intention. And that's why, right now, I want to introduce something that has the potential to completely transform your relationship and perception of abundance. Over the next 3 consecutive days, dedicate yourself to closely observing your emotional and energetic reactions that arise in financial contexts. Focus not on your deliberate actions, but rather on your automatic and instinctive responses. When your thoughts turn to money, carefully note what you feel internally. When you speak about money or monetary matters, notice the tone and inflection of your voice. When your eyes land on a bill or bank statement, observe what emerges in your chest, the physical and emotional sensations. Just observe, without judgment. This exercise, in its simplicity, will reveal far more about the true nature of your vibration than any affirmation you might have repeated throughout your entire life. There's a crucial and often overlooked point in the law of attraction journey. You don't transform your reality by simply altering your thoughts. True change occurs by transforming who you are internally. This is precisely where most people hit a block, as they dedicate their lives to believing they need to control external results, when the focus should be on managing the internal state that generates those results. I want you to understand deeply, there is a gigantic chasm between desiring and allowing. Everyone yearns to prosper, but very few truly allow prosperity into their lives. And allowing is not a rational act, but an emotional state. It means opening internal space for something greater. But how can most people do this if they spend their days trapped in automatic emotional patterns? Have you noticed that, even when something positive happens, there's a hidden fear that it won't last? Have you realized that, often, when dreaming of a better life, a part of you questions if you deserve it? Or if you'll be able to maintain it? This is the key point. Desire looks to the future, but fear looks to the past. And when these two impulses collide, what prevails is the stronger vibration, and almost always, that is fear. When you open your bank statement with a sense of tension, that already constitutes a vibration. When you discuss monetary matters with an emotional charge, that too is a form of vibration. When you compare your existence to others and perceive a lag, such a phenomenon is a vibrational manifestation. This totality accumulates. It builds the energetic domain that dictates what enters and what departs from your existence. And here's a subtle yet profoundly influential detail: The past doesn't hinder your progress because it happened, it hinders it because the feeling persists, as if it were still unfolding. And as long as that emotion remains vivid, the frequency will also persist. And as long as that frequency is in operation, you will continue to attract the same dynamic. For this reason, countless people often declare that, everything happens to me, nothing ever prospers, or, when one misfortune arises, 10 more follow. This isn't bad luck. It's an echo of feelings. And this experience hit me harder than I ever imagined. In the early stages of my journey, after beginning to obtain substantial sums of money through my inaugural venture, I recall a singular experience that will never fade from memory. I was in my workspace, reviewing new advancements that had just arrived. It represented a vast expansion for me. It was a transition that any individual would celebrate. However, instead of experiencing excitement, I was consumed by terror. An overwhelming dread of not being capable. Of watching everything slip away. Of failing so colossally that it would be impossible to recover. In that same month, 3 devices broke down, 1 major contractor backed out, and an employee made a blunder that led to significant expenses. Today, I can clearly discern it. My energy was out of sync with my growth, and the cosmos merely mirrored the frequency I was emitting, not the achievement I claimed to desire. And until I altered my internal state, everything around me continued to crumble. And it is for this reason that I re-emphasize the crucial need to grasp the core premise of this concept: existence doesn't respond to your pleas, but to your essence. And that essence has nothing to do with your appearance, income, credentials, number of followers, possessions, or social standing. Being is frequency. It's a way of being. It's what governs you when you act on impulse, when you're alone, when you're not seeking to make an impact, when you simply exist. People who attract abundance aren't just constantly thinking positive thoughts, they radiate a distinct frequency. Their resonance doesn't stem from fear, but from constructive anticipation. Not from scarcity, but from potentiality. Not from hesitation, but from surrender. And this shift isn't a magic spell. It is something that can be cultivated. And it is precisely at this point that a crucial issue resides. Notable figures who neglected these principles of inner harmony witnessed the decline of their paths not due to a lack of talent, but a lack of mastery over their emotions and mind. A highly illustrative case is that of Amy Winehouse. An extraordinary gift, an unparalleled voice, a splendid ascent, yet, internally, there was a deep frequency of self-sabotage, fueled by apprehension, uncertainty, and personal struggles that she never managed to transform. The public saw triumph, but at her core, she echoed ruin. And existence responded to that frequency. It's painful, but undeniable. No matter how high you rise, if your internal resonance is out of sync, the entire structure crumbles. And this line of reasoning leads us to an even more intrinsic perspective. Your feelings are signposts, not adversaries. They accurately reveal where your frequency lies. And a considerable part of the metamorphosis lies in learning how to identify these feelings and skillfully transmute them. Research indicates that individuals who cultivate emotional awareness enjoy substantially higher levels of financial stability, resilience, and contentment. It's not a coincidence. It's cause and effect. For this process of change to begin within you, I intend to present a remarkably effective, straightforward, and revolutionary challenge. Over the next 7 days, each time you experience an unfavorable emotional response related to finances, fear, discouragement, regret, indignation, anxiety, avoid dismissing it. Simply pause for 10 seconds. Take a deep breath. And replace the feeling with a question. What scenario would I envision right now if I weren't consumed by this emotion? This inquiry immediately alters your frequency because it prompts your intellect to tap into an aspect of yourself that transcends fear. Do this for 7 days. Just 7. And you will witness the emergence of a genuine shift in your inner landscape. As you begin to genuinely grasp the vibrational premise, a remarkable event unfolds. You stop merely reacting to the external environment and begin to build from your core. And observe, it is precisely at this point that most individuals falter. They wait for circumstances to change, for money to appear, for the opportunity to arise, for someone else to open a door. However, the dynamic has never worked that way. The resonance you maintain constitutes the invisible framework to which everything conforms. everything. And you possess the ability to shift that frequency at any moment, simply by readjusting your worldview. It's akin to calibrating an intrinsic dial. You don't impose reality. You align with it. When I began to implement this approach, I became aware that I didn't need to wait for someone else to place their trust in me. I needed to emanate the frequency of what I desired, and the universe conformed to my inner landscape. Not the other way around. And perhaps today, right now, you need to hear this: no one else has dominion over the resonance you project. Only you do. And by taking the reins of that control, opportunities begin to manifest in ways that defy rationality. Stay with me, because we're just scratching the surface of what you're capable of creating by understanding how to precisely manage your mind. And as you allow these concepts to resonate within you, remember that every insight that emerges here has the power to awaken something unique, not only in you, but also in someone who might, at this very moment, be seeking precisely this message. If you feel this has been meaningful to you, share it with a dear person who could benefit from this motivation. My gratitude for accompanying me on this journey of expansion. We move forward together. I look forward to seeing you in the next recording.